Welcome to Cash Flow Predictability for 2026, a roundtable panel brought to you by the Controllers Council. My name is Neil Brown, Executive Director of the Controllers Council. And before I introduce our expert panelists and our partner sponsor, let me share some brief housekeeping items. First, we'll have Q&A at the end of the presentation, so please use your GoToWebinar panel to ask our experts questions. Second, this webinar is CPE eligible with 4 polling questions, so please answer each poll for CPE or to benchmark your peers. Please allow up to 1 week for CPE certificates to be emailed to you. And finally, regarding CPE, you'll receive a brief survey directly after the webcast today, so please complete it. And finally, you'll receive a link to this webcast via email in the next 24 hours, so no need for notes or screenshots. So now a word from our partner and sponsor, Billtrust, a B2B order-to-cash software and digital payments market leader. Billtrust helps the world's leading brands move finance forward with AI-powered solutions to transition from expensive paper invoicing and check acceptance to efficient electronic billing and payments. With more than 1 trillion invoice dollars processed, Billtrust delivers business value through deep industry expertise and a culture relentlessly focused on delivering meaningful customer outcomes. And now I'm very pleased to introduce our subject matter experts and panelists, Christine Gu, Michael Mance, and Leanne Schommer. Christine Gu is SVP Finance and Chief Accounting Officer at Clarify Health Solutions. She's an active CPA with more than 20 years of finance and accounting experience. Prior roles included VP of Finance, Chief Accounting Officer, Corporate Controller, and a public accounting career at KPMG. Christine's experience includes both private and public companies, from startups to public, along with multiple IPOs and SPACs. She earned a BS accounting from San Francisco State University and was Controllers Council 2022 National Controller of the Year. Mike Mance is VP Financial Operations at Dialysis Care Center, a multi-region healthcare provider where Mike runs the F&A team and reports to the CEO. Prior roles included VP of Financial Reporting at BMO and Assistant Controller at Aon, the Global Financial Services Corp. And along with F&A Consulting and Public Accounting, Mike earned a BS Accounting from Illinois State University and is a licensed CPA in Illinois. Leanne Schommer is Chief Product Officer at Billtrust with over 20 years of experience driving enterprise software innovation and growth, championing AI adoption and delivering successful SaaS transformations with measurable ROI. Prior roles included Chief Product Officer at Insight Software and 5 years leading product teams at Epicor. Welcome, Christine, Mike, and Leanne. So before we get started on our panel, Leanne's going to share a quick overview of Billtrust. Leanne, take it away.
Thanks, Neil. For those of you that are not familiar with Billtrust, as the slide indicates, we are all about automating the order-to-cash process. So from the first moment in which you decide to give credit to a purchasing activity happening and you need to create an invoice, to take a payment, to then applying that remittance or that cash application, and then of course, depending on whether or not the cash comes in, taking and running a collections process, we have AI capabilities across our entire accounts receivable platform at Billtrust. And excited to be with all of you today.
Great. Well, thank you for that. And so let's now get to our first panel question. And panelists, if you want to come on to video, that would be great. Please tell us about your company, your finance and accounting organization, and your AR department and or functions. So Christine, let's start with you. Can you give us some of your background and talk about Clarify Health? Check your mute, Christine.
All right. Hi, everyone, and thank you for having me. It's a great pleasure to be here. And first of all, I want to thank Controllers Council for hosting this event. And then a big shout out to Billtrust for sponsoring today's discussion. It's exciting to be part of this conversation, and because it's highlighting the importance of AR automation. So as far as Clarify Health, it's a healthcare analytic company that use data and AI to help payer, provider, and life science companies make better decisions, whether that's optimizing care delivery or improving access or reducing costs for the companies. So from a finance and accounting perspective, we run a very lean organization, but highly strategic. Our core F&A team covers FP&A, accounting, AR, AP, tax, and compliance. We leverage also offshore resources to help scale execution while keeping headcount efficient. On the AR side, we partner closely with our customer success team, legal team, to align invoicing, collections, and contract terms from time to time. And we will also embed AR tracking mechanism into our border revenue operation process. So we're not just reactive, kind of organization, but actively managing cash conversion cycles.
Great, thanks, Christina. Mike, how about you and Dialysis Care Center?
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone, and thanks, Neil, for having me back in the sponsorship here with Billtrust. Dialysis Care Center is a national medium-sized healthcare company. I've been in business for about a dozen years. We are in about 8 states and have about 50-some locations, providing dialysis care to our patients. We have about 1,000 employees total, and we are headquartered here in the Chicagoland area. On my team, I have collectively about 50 total individuals throughout various responsibilities in accounting, finance, FP&A, tax, as well as revenue cycle in the AR department, which consists of about a half dozen individuals on that, where they're doing billing as well as collections and so forth. So great company to work for, and I've been here for approximately 6 years.
Great, well, thank you for that, Mike. And Leanne, do you want to share a little bit about how Billtrust's finance and accounting is structured?
Sure, pretty classic. The CFO has 3 main groups. If we set aside the general counsel, policy, and compliance into a separate group, I would say that it's FP&A and classic corporate finance under one FP&A leader, taking care of planning, forecasting, budget requirements, any KPIs that require tracking based on business goals. And then a lot of heavy lifting over in the controller and accounting space. So everything I think that Christine and Mike kind of mentioned in terms of their org, very similar structure at Billtrust. And we use our own tools to help automate.
Oh, I'm glad you do that. Not surprising. Okay, so let's move on to our first poll question. Pardon me. So I'm going to launch that. And we start out really easy. Effective cash flow management is a top priority. Select one of the following. Again, your answers are anonymous and confidential. Please take a few seconds. They're going to get harder, so start out easy. So all these smart people in the audience are really fast at voting. So, and voting is ground to a halt. So I'm going to share the results, and not surprisingly, 56% agree, 42% strongly agree. So 98%, only 3% don't know. Wait, that doesn't add up. So whatever, all good. Let's, we're not going to spend a lot of time talking about that one, but because it does lead in to our first panel question. Is cash flow management a top priority for your company, and how do you effectively manage cash flows? So, okay, Mike, let's start with you.
Okay, great. Great question. Yes, it is a top priority. Our company, you know, I work closely with our corporate controller and treasury team, as well as our billing team and collections. You know, it's a very important process, first of all, you know, to ensure that billing is accurately done on the initial onset, and then utilizing automation for that process. In KPIs, you know, we look at DSOs as well as payment terms from on our AP side to ensure that we're paying our vendors on a timely basis, but ensuring that we're getting good terms there. And then also taking advantage of any rebates from a vendor perspective.
Awesome, thank you for that. And Christine, Clarify Health cash flow priorities and processes?
Yeah, I can't agree more. Absolutely, it's our top priority, especially in the current macro environment where access to capital is a little bit more constrained compared to before, and also companies are laser focused on burn rates and runway. And for us, we take a rolling cash forecasting approach, looking out 13 weeks on a weekly basis, and then tying that to pipeline velocity or bookings conversion and any billing schedules. It's not just an accounting or treasury function. It's a collaborative effort across FP&A, sales, and rep ops for us. It's a team sport. And in terms of cash visibility, it really helps us make better decisions around hiring, vendor spend, and investment timing, etc. We also scenario plan around contingencies, such as collection delays or ramp-up costs, or any M&A related outflows. So this sort of weekly discipline helps the executive team stay agile and data informed.
Great. Well, great way to summarize that. Leanne, can you at least briefly now tell, I know we're going to talk about Billtrust a lot, but how does Billtrust help controllers and chief accounting officers and CFOs manage cash flow?
I'll hit a couple highlights. Number one is just to go digital as much as possible, which sounds like an obvious step, but I saw a study the other day that said 60% of accounts receivable for the most part is still manual. So people are still dealing with paper and Excel spreadsheets. So Billtrust can help you automate as much as possible. So translating that into digital, also offering multiple payment options or modalities, so that if you have a buyer that is wanting cards, virtual cards, proprietary or ACH, or a mixture of both based on their business, meet them where they want to live, and we can help you with that process. So you figure what kind of payment options you'd like to offer your end customer, and we can help you with that. And then making sure you have real-time visibility. Christine kind of hit on this, where you need to look at that liquidity, where are you at with the revolver, and then basically to always have analytics that tells you where things are with your business. And you shouldn't have to ask it. Your vendor, like Billtrust, should tell you and provide that insights when you log in, giving you that information and actually pointing you to opportunities to improve your cash flow. So again, giving you the tools to automate as much as possible, maybe helping you stack rank which customers you should that always pay you and pay you well and are low risk versus where you might want to focus your collections activities. So whether it's optimizing your payment options or optimizing your collections procedures, anything in that whole quote order to cash process, Billtrust can help be a partner.
Well, thank you. And may I just say, as a non-accountant, but a CEO of a small company, cash is king. That's all I'm going to say here. So let's move on to our next poll. We'll launch that. What specific AR functions are automated or plan to be automated? Check all that apply. So again, confidential, anonymous, but this one we'll spend a little time on and drill down into how our panelists are doing it. So it'll be a good benchmark as well. Watching the voting, so we're gonna try and get up to 80% plus is where we usually average. More seconds. And I'll share the results. So invoicing number one, 55%, followed by reporting, 42%, very closely followed by payments, 41%. And only 29% credit and collections, and then 25 not sure. So interesting results here. Any comments on this, panelists?
I'd say that tracks with what we've seen as well. I'm a little surprised credit and collections isn't higher, but I think that aligns with what we're seeing.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I'm surprised the invoicing, though, isn't more automated.
Right. Okay. Well, that does lead into our next panel question. So we'll go ahead and hide those results and get over to our next panel question. What AR functions are automated or plan to be automated in 2026? So, all right, Leanne, what AR, we're going to start with you this time. What AR function should be automated first, or where do you start?
So there's no one right answer. It depends on what's going on with your business. I alluded to this just a couple seconds ago, that where we typically see companies focus is in collections and Cash App, because they tend to be very data intensive. They tend to be a point of pain, lots of manual process, so it's just right for automation. So I'd say collections and Cash App, and I would say look at where you have a density of data and then build a process that might be defined. Maybe you start a small project and set very specific goals. That's where we've seen the most success, where companies start in Cash App and collections, they figure out what they want to improve, they set a specific target, maybe improving DSO by X%. They create a black box or an AI sandbox where they kind of work a process. Maybe they have someone doing it the old way versus the new way, and then they can compare metrics for each. But that's one of the things that we've seen is, again, collections, Cash App, right for automation. Lots of companies start there, set a goal, make sure you have a very specific target and can track against those metrics throughout, so you know whether or not it's having the results you want.
Neat. Thanks for that. Mike, what AR functions have you automated so far, and what will be future automations?
Good question. So our billing function is fully automated with our payers. Also, it is very automated from a collection perspective of receiving electronic payments from those payers. So since we're in the healthcare industry, so your traditional commercial insurance, Medicare and Medicaid, so we have solid DSOs. The application of those payments for the patient's account needs to be automated, and that's kind of future state that we're looking at internally for next year.
Great. And Christine, automation at Clarify?
Yeah, our situation is fairly aligned with the audience and the panel. We've already automated the core invoicing and like the dunning processes through our ERP and billing platform. And we also integrated those workflow with Salesforce. So we use Salesforce for our CRM to ensure like contract terms or billing triggers are all aligned. So those have been automated. And then looking ahead to 2026, we would like to exploring like further on automation in 3 areas. The first one is any sort of dispute resolution workflow where flagging in issues earlier and routing them to account manager to handle when we start having issue collecting or we're hearing from them saying, hey, I'm not paying because XYZ. And then the second thing is the payment matching and cash application. So especially as we scale and deal with like larger volume or more complex remittance process, etc. So we would like to automate that area. And last but not least is the predictive collection. So using AI models to identify accounts at risk of delay or proactively engaging in those accounts, hopefully, right, to be able to accurately forecast our collection. So those are the things that we have in mind for 2026.
Got a lot on your plate. Okay, and we alluded to some of these. What are some of the key metrics or top KPIs using cash flow management and AR? Mike, do you want to start?
Sure. So with us, it's, ensuring that we're having accurate billing, as I mentioned before. So making sure that billing error rate is very low. Also, that would then eliminate rebilling and delaying the process of getting cash collections. Obviously a big one is DSOs, which we have the automation with our payer mix that I mentioned. And then, if you go into AP, really kind of stretching the terms or renegotiating terms with your vendors on the payment side as well.
Okay, Christine, metrics and top key KPIs for you.
Yep. So sure, same as kind of Mike mentioned, DSO is kind of like our top KPI that we keep track of. We are tracking this by customer segment and cohort to detect any early sign of slippage. And then the other thing is cash conversion cycle as well. This helps us to understand like working capital dynamics, especially like between the billing timing and as well as the payment timeline. And then we also keep track of collection forecast accuracy. So we treat this like a revenue forecast. It's tracked weekly and embedded as part of like the cash flow forecasts. And also billing to invoice lag, that's also kind of like an efficiency KPI that we also track. Because this is the key for SaaS and milestone-based contracts and how long it takes, right, for us to operationalize a closed deal, and that's important for us. Also, any unbilled AR, we're also keeping a close eye on, especially important for professional services. So in addition, we also layer in like pipeline health check, customer payment behavior, and contract dependencies to get a more predictive view of the AR impact on cash. So those are the things that we've been tracking.
Right, thank you. Leanne, what are some of the key metrics or KPIs you see with customers?
I think the panel hit the biggest one, without a doubt, DSO. Everybody talks about DSO as a key KPI, days to pay. Some companies have a collections effectiveness index, so they want to look at the percent of their receivables collected within a specific time frame. Some of them might want to have a specific target for a bad debt ratio, but again, without a doubt, DSO is typically top of the list in terms of a dashboard.
Okay, not surprising there. So let us get to our third polling question. Are you exploring or implementing AI or other functions? So let me, whoops, bring that up. Sorry about that. Okay. So exploring or implementing AI for AR or other functions. Select one of the following. Give you a few more seconds here. And so let's share the results. 18% have implemented AI. 55% are exploring or evaluating AI, and 20% have not explored or implemented AI, and 7% not sure. So, so that's interesting. We'll weave that into the next question here. Will AI be adopted for AI or other F&A processes? Leanne, why don't you go first on this one?
Sure, we have already rolled out a number of AI features, and we're seeing all different levels of adoption. We have a number of user forums where people are either really early in their journey or they are technology evangelists, and they are trying to test out every piece of AI feature that they can get their hands on. I think the most successful use cases are when you make it organic and you build it into a process. So for example, your collections process. If you can have an AI solution that looks at a collections thread, turns it into action for you, and when you trust it, because it's really important that you train and trust the AI solution, it can execute on your behalf. The more it learns, the more the trust and the model is built up, you can have it do the hard, mundane things, or it can point you to more advanced use cases. Like if you've got a long list of people to contact as part of a collections process, and you never have the time to touch every one of those accounts. Well, a lot of companies just stack rank that big long list based on size of when it's due in the ARR. Instead, if you already know that someone always pays, ABC Incorporated, they always pay, but they never pay before 45 days religiously. Maybe you don't contact them, but you contact somebody else that's always a late payer. So Billtrust has capabilities where we can point you based on risk and the risk model, kind of watching the buyer's behavior on how they pay, how they like to pay, how they like to interact with you. So use different tools to try and be more prescriptive in your outreach, because that outreach is such an important way for you to interact with your customers. So if there's no need to send a dunning or you don't need to call them, maybe they respond better to an email, cater to that behavior and find a solution like Billtrust that can allow you to be more personal with your customers, because that's really your lifeblood is the way in which you interact with your customers. So lots of opportunity to use AI to make the whole process more personalized, and then you can get as aggressive as you want based on the trust you have.
Great. Thank you for that. Christine, how about Clarify?
Yeah, I feel like I need to talk to Leanne right after this webinar, because those are the exact things that we're looking for. Yeah, I mean, AI adoption is already happening, right? So I see it accelerating across AR and as well as the entire F&A, organization more broadly. Specifically in AR, we're looking at tools that can analyze the customer payment pattern, like what Leanne mentioned. And then also being able to recommend a tailored outreach timing, when will be the best time to reach out to them, so that they will read your email. And also flag any high risk account based on behavior signals. And also being able to generate draft emails for collection follow-ups. So it saves, a lot of our time. And then outside of AR, AI is also, helping us with FP&A modeling, and, some audit prep work, and then expense analysis. So those are the things that we have, adopted. And then what's really exciting for us is that I feel what we learn is AI is not just elevating or automating what we do, but also elevating the why. So it provides more insight for controllers, and F&A team now have the opportunity to become more forward-looking, and using AI as a co-pilot for more insights.
Neat. Mike, how about yourself and dialysis care?
Yeah, great insight, both of you. You didn't leave me much here, but from an AR perspective for AI, so we will be inquiring into really just the cash application process for our patient AR. Also, from a finance and accounting perspective, really just looking at the utilization of AI within our ERP system. We also do have a new FP&A system that we are looking at, which really provides some good analytics, both financially and creating verbiage. And then also, as most accountants utilize, is where we can use it in Excel or spreadsheets, just to make the team's their job easier, more efficient, and more effective.
Great. Thank you, everyone. I think we covered a lot of ground there. So now we're going to turn to your predictions for 2026, as we are in the last month of the year. What's new in finance and accounting? Christine, why don't you start?
Yeah, my prediction are kind of like three main areas. I see shaping the F&A landscape by 2026. Number one is finance team will become kind of like a product manager for a lot of internal tools. Will they expect to configure and optimize tech stacks? Because I'm the one that's figuring out how to connect NetSuite AI connector with our cloud. So yeah, so we'll be managing a lot of ERP, billing, spend management tools, AI copilots, just like a product team doing for customers. And then the second thing is I think the controller will be a cash strategist, especially in subscription and milestone-based kind of business model. Understanding the billing lever, renewal triggers, and any kind of cash acceleration tool would be essential. And then the third area would be our talent would look very different compared to before. The next generation controller would probably need to be able to do more storytelling, system thinking, and then need to be automation fluency. So not just like the old days technical gap savvy person anymore. So for those like, who already embracing this change, it's definitely a good opportunity to lead the company growth as opposed to being like a support function, in the future.
Well spoken. Mike, how about yourself? What do you think is going to be new in 2026?
I just think AI, everything's AI now. Just how do you utilize it the best? But utilizing it accurately, I think it's going to be a great tool to get rid of those mundane tasks and manual tasks. I think then it provides opportunities for the team members, not just to work more efficient and more effective, but providing them, getting involved with strategy, talking, within the business leaders, within the company operations. I just think it provides the team members, better experience, which, then will lead to, I believe, better employee retention, which is key. We've seen out there in the marketplace where a lot of people are staying at their jobs longer, but it goes in phases. So I think employee retention and utilization of AI going forward into 26.
Great ideas. Thank you. And Leanne, from your lofty perch at this big tech company you work for?
Well, I think that some of this has been touched on, but I think AI and it just becoming part of your everyday is where we'll head. I was with our customer advisory board, and one of our CAB members was saying, the other day I had to pull a report for my CFO, and it dawned on me, I can ask the Billtrust autopilot, give me my top 10 customers that have recently flipped from ACH to card. Normally, she said that would have been a data request, and I would have had to set time aside to pull that. So I think just making it, instead of AI can help me with this, having it part of where you start the process is this a question for AI? I think that's the flip that we'll start to see, is more and more people just using it as part of, this is part of my day, using whatever your AI solution is. Depending, again, you want to make sure you will trust the solution, so it has to be something that you're confident in, but it'll just be part of your day. And we're pretty excited about taking our payments data and giving it to our customers to basically say that we're starting to see behaviors, and instead of some of the policies that you might set up once a year, maybe it's a credit policy that you don't touch dynamically every day, or a payment policy. If AI can give you insights, and you can take some of those things that we would normally set it and forget it, or just look at it annually. If it's something where you could look at a payment policy regularly based on what's happening with a customer, I think we'll see more of that it's not just a very linear process, that companies can be a lot more dynamic in who they give credit to, how they manage their cash flow, a lot more optimized to each customer. And AI will just be, as Mike said, it'll be everywhere. And you just have to make sure you build it into your everyday process in order for it to stick.
Well, I think that little soundbite might stick, AI every day. So that's a good one. I'm going to go buy that domain right away. Just kidding. Let's thank you all for that. It's Yeah, AI across the board. Let's get to our last polling question. This one, do you want more information on AR automation from Billtrust? Select one of the following. Again, this is confidential. We're not going to discuss this one in the panel at all, but please answer away and we'll get to our Q&A. Just a few more seconds, please. All right, we're going to close that poll, and we are in Q&A. So, audience, reminder: please use your control panel to ask questions. We'll get to as many as possible in the hour. And I've got a first one here. Why is AR a priority for companies versus other functions? So I think what they're saying is, why is AR automation and improvement a priority? Anyone want to take that?
I can go first.
Sure.
I think, yeah, AR is one of the most direct lever for improving cash flow, because we've been talking about, right, how important cash flow is. So it directly ties to cash flow. So why a lot of like finance initiative takes months or years to yield ROI, but AR improvement can show result like right away with a single quarter. So it's also one of the few functions where operational improvement have a clear P&L and balance sheet impact. Reducing DSO improves liquidity, reduce reliance on external financing, and supports reinvestment in growth. So at Clarified, we are seeing, right, automating invoicing, collection, and contract to cash cycle is one of the most efficient way to extend runway without the need to cut spend, or and that's especially valuable in a market where cost of capital is high right now. So you know, stating the obvious, AR is super important, and automation of that enables us to bring cash in faster.
Can't agree more. Anyone else want to add to that?
Yeah, I just believe everything we've been talking about throughout with the panel here throughout this event here is just, you know, cash is king, like you mentioned, Neil, and Christine has, you know, pointed to some very good points. You know, liquidity, the cost of capital, getting cash receipts in, you know, DSOs are obviously very important, and then you can manage your vendor payments on the flip side much easier.
Okay. All right, we do have a question from Donnelly Casey. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. How are you using AI for credit reviews? Who would like to take that? Maybe Leanne, you can talk about if Billtrust does that.
Yep, we do, and we have a new feature coming out in Q1 for dynamically adjusting credit policies. So again, looking at behaviors of who you've given credit to, and looking at their ability to pay on time, not just looking at D&B, Experian, et cetera, all those normal fees, and who's paying what on time, but really looking at buying behavior real time and pulling that all together, looking at all of those transactions. Again, that's why the more you can have it all within one AR system, whether somebody walks up to a rental counter and makes a rental, uses up credit through a rental counter, and then they go online and do a transaction, and then they have their normal outstanding balance, having all of that in one spot where you're seeing how leveraged they are, and being able to have real-time oversight to that, that's very important. And so we use that to make recommendations to our customers to say, it looks like Christine has gone on a buying spree. And so you might want to adjust things, or maybe Christine always pays on time and it looks like her business is doing really well. Let's look at that growth and recommend even more levers to expand that partnership so she can continue growing like a rocket ship. So again, there's ways in which you can use this data. It's all about the data, but using the data to then inform how you apply the line of credit and the ways in which you evolve to help your customers grow or dial back if needed.
Okay, that's very great. So dynamic credit management.
Yeah, and it's management and policies. Yeah.
Okay, very interesting. Q1. Got another audience question here. From Luke Hall asks, we're a professional services business with multiple entities, and they're having problems predicting cash flow accurately because of their multiple entities. So, any advice on that?
I believe with the multiple entities, you really just need to break it down to multiple, if it's business units or lines of business. But you know, there's going to be multiple silos here as far as the cash collections, and I think we've talked about several points. I just think you need to expand that throughout those multiple business entities, but having an overarching, you know, corporate governance, policies, procedures, terms, and that, just ensuring that is uniform throughout those various business units or entities.
Yeah, makes sense. Thanks, Mike. Got another question here. Will finance and accounting automation or AI eliminate accountant jobs? So we typically hear these types of questions on every webcast. Any thoughts on job elimination? I thought we're in kind of an accountant shortage, aren't we?
Yeah, I can take that. I don't think so. You know, automation, AI will not, it's not meant to eliminate accounting roles, but would absolutely change them. And the tasks like reconciliation, invoice tracking, or even some contract review are being automated or assisted by AI today. But that doesn't mean we need fewer accountants. It means we need accountants who are more strategic or tax savvy and analytical. So yeah, for us, like at Clarify, we use automation to offload a lot of repetitive work so the team can focus on insight. For example, like why did cash flow deviate this week? Or why do collection trends, you know, relate to churn risk? And you know, what payment terms should we offer to enterprise clients based on, you know, the pattern that we're seeing? So in my mind, right, the future sort of accountant is going to be a sort of part of business analyst and part of business system thinker. So rather than displacing talent, automation actually elevates the finance role. So allowing us to be able to add more value to the business.
Yeah, well spoken. I think that's what I've heard in the past, and I think you summed it up very well. Anyone else want to comment on this accountant jobs aspect of automation?
Yeah, I concur with Christine. I think it just provides the team other opportunities, you know, from a financial and more so an operational perspective, which then will further challenge them, provide them other opportunities, you know, throughout their career there as they're getting experience. But also it's going to help with the retention, in my opinion, because they're getting away from these mundane tasks and just making their job more efficient. more effective, and it's really more strategic.
Mhm.
Yeah, good point. And you mentioned retention before, so that's a good point. I've got a question for you, Leanne. What are some parameters for timing for implementing AR automation? Can you give us any sense of that, how long it takes?
It depends on whether or not you're implementing one module or all of order to cash. But I would say the days of implementation taking years. I remember a number of years ago, I was a sponsor for a very large ERP rollout, and it took years, and that was just expected. It's going to be millions of dollars over budget, and it's going to take years. Those days are over, should be over. You should expect more. And you should expect to be looking at implementation being done in a few months, if not more SaaS oriented in the tightest time frame possible. So typically the number one thing that's a barrier to going faster with implementation is the data. You have a good handle on the data that needs to get connected to your vendor, your partner. And then number two, what do you want your policies to be? So I think the more you can be prepared to answer those questions in terms of the designing the solution, and work with a partner that can tell you this is what great looks like. We've done this thousands of times. This is how typically someone in your vertical or in your space sets up this process. That can help really reduce the thinking, looking at a blank sheet of paper and wondering where to start. But again, it's typically the customer thinking, how do I want to design this process for our customers and that interaction? And then my data, how do I get my data ready? You get those two things locked down, your vendor partner should be able to go fast. We're talking, a few months, not a half a year, et cetera, but faster is better if you can get the upfront ready.
Yeah, that's great. I'm glad you mentioned that, because really just a few years ago even, it would take months and months and if not years for some of the bigger companies. So any other thoughts, panelists, that you'd like to share with the audience today?
I think I have to follow up with Christine. Sounds like we should work together.
Well, we'll send up a follow-up email, so you'll have each other's emails. So yeah, let me say thank you to our excellent panelists, Mike, Christine, and Leanne. Just great insights today. Got a lot of great sound bites. We're going to have a highlights article on this published as soon as we get the transcript. AI will improve it, I'm sure, improve that speed and accuracy, and we'll share that with you. Of course, this event will be on our archive as well for those that want to take a look at it. Thanks to Billtrust, our partner and sponsor today, clearly a leader in AR automation and much more. And last but not least, certainly thanks to all of our attendees. Great success to you and in closing out this 2025, and lots of great success to you in 2026 and beyond. So goodbye for now, everyone. See you next time.